Hello and welcome to Tarot in 10, the tarot mini lesson every Tuesday. I'm Tamara DeGaia and my passions and specialties are herbalism, tarot, and more. And I've taught classes and run groups on both of those topics for many years. You can find me at tamaradegaya.com. What we're talking about today is the suit of swords in the tarot, which for most decks corresponds to the element of air. In the minor arcana of the tarot, there are four suits: swords, wands, pentacles, and cups. And those correspond to the four elements of water, air, earth, and fire. This is the suit of swords in the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. And so you can see as you're looking from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 there on the top line, the top row, and then 6 through 10 on the bottom row. This is not a happy, happy, joy, joy kind of a suit. It is full of a lot of strife and pain and feelings of being trapped and deception. Oh my gosh, why is this such a negative suit? So many people say. Well, it's not necessarily a negative suit. Just like anything in tarot, everything has a positive side and a negative side. Everything is a metaphor. And when Arthur Waite and Pamela Coleman Smith were designing the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, which was the first deck really designed as a tarot deck for spiritual development, they took the numerology of the card, like 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, and they intersected that with the meaning of the suit. And in that way, they tried to develop an image that would be an accurate depiction of that intersection of the number and the suit. I would really recommend watching the video that I have on numerology to tell you more about that. But just for an example, the suit of swords corresponds to the element of air. In other decks, it might be called blades or spades, but in most decks, it corresponds to air, and that means that it corresponds to our mind, our thoughts, our thinking, and our cognitive expression, how we express ourselves, how we communicate with other people. And so this covers things like our plans, our learning, or any intellectual activities, solving problems, communication, conflict, instigation, because sometimes you have to instigate conflict in order to come to a resolution, right? And conflict resolution, our ethics, our character, our points of view, how we see the world, that is all encompassed in the suit of swords. And so as we look at these swords and we say, oh my goodness, they look pretty negative, really what they are images that depict some concept of that number intersected with some concept of the suit. For example, the number 4. The number 4 in tarot is a very stable number, and really it represents stability and conserving your energy and not taking chances at that point in time. And so if you take a look at the number 4 there, which is the 4th card over on the top row, you can see that Pamela Coleman Smith and Arthur Waite did a fantastic job of depicting the meaning of the number 4, stability, conserving your energy, not taking chances, and intersecting it with our mind, our thoughts, and our communication in that image. So that's really what each card image does. So let's take a look at the number 3. That one is a commonly misunderstood image because a lot of people read that as heartbreak. And I guess, yes, you could say that is heartbreak, but really it's not about the emotions, or it would have been a cups card. It is about the thoughts and the communications and the number 3. And the number 3 is, like most odd numbers, are about instability and the opportunity for growth. So if you think about the number 3 being intersected with the suit of swords, the element of air, it might be a project that you worked really hard on for work, and you submitted the project and you received back criticism. That's painful, right? But it's really more of a pain in our intellect. We worked hard on it. We thought hard about it. We really put put our heart into it, yes, but it's about how we created with our intellect and how we're receiving that criticism. So really this is about the pain that is created when things don't necessarily go as we expected. And the number 3 can mean other things as well. So that's what each of the cards means. Now, the suit of swords, the element of air, is an active suit. It's a yang suit. So you've heard me talk, I'm sure, many times about how there are men and women in the tarot, but that does not necessarily mean that those images represent masculine and feminine, except for in the broader context. It doesn't mean man and woman. It means more of a yin and yang, because we all have some of those characteristics within us. And, and there are elements of positive and productive, and there are elements of negative and destructive in those. But the suit of air is an active suit. There are things going on. There's action happening. When you look at any tarot card, in addition to looking at the numerology and at the suit, you of course also want to look at the symbology of the card. This is just an example. I always recommend that when you are studying a card, you first of all, take the card out and only look inward, right? Get your journal out and write down, what do you see that are the symbols in that card, and then write down what you think those might represent. Don't take a look at clouds. That hand is coming out of clouds. So what do clouds mean? Well, we all know what clouds mean, right? They obscure things. They hide the sunlight. Maybe not everything is able to be seen when there's clouds. Clouds can deliver a bolt of lightning or thunder. Okay, so you just start going through the symbols that you know and see what you think they mean before you look at other sources. And the reason I always recommend doing that is because a lot of times when people go to the sources first, they don't give themselves the opportunity to figure it out. And when you try to figure it out, first of all, you learn much more from that. And secondly, you may have insights that you don't find anywhere else. And those may be the insights that you need the next time that you read that card. A lot of times if we go to the expert sources first, those can overshadow what you may have discovered on your own. Now, that being said, there are maybe going to be symbols in a card that you are going to have to look up in order to know what they mean. For example, the little yellow squiggly symbols in this card. Unless you are a student of Hebrew, you probably didn't know that those are actually a Hebrew letter, and they're in several tarot cards. And so that's something you might want to look up and learn about. But that's something to think about as you're looking at the symbology on a card. Now, of course, the other part of the suit of swords are the courts of the swords. And court cards are the people and the personalities of the tarot. Now, when I teach the court cards, I love to use the deck called the Everyday Enchantment Tarot by Poppy, and I can't think of her last name. I'll put it down below. But she is a fantastic artist, and she really brought, I think, the tarot court especially to life. Pamela Coleman Smith did a fantastic job of illustrating the Rider-Waite-Smith tarot, but her court cards don't have a lot of personality, and they really are based in the courts that were created way back in the 1400s when there actually were courts that people were familiar with. And so for just example, let's start with the Page of Swords. Now, so here is Pamela Coleman Smith card on the left, and then Poppy's card on the right from the Everyday Enchantment deck. And you know this kid, right? You have met this kid. He's one of your neighbor kids. He may have even been one of your own kids. He may have been you growing up. Again, it doesn't necessarily be a he or a she. I'm going to go ahead and say, I'm going to go ahead and say this is a he. But that doesn't necessarily mean that a page is a male or female. It can be anybody at any time in their lives. It can be a person. It can be a personality. So this personality is a student of inner truth, intelligent, fearless, curious, determined, and very original thinker, not really concerned with what other people have to say about things. Very willing to go out, find their own facts, and create their own opinions. The page card can be a message card, and in this case, it might be delivering some kind of a truth, insight, facts, or knowledge. As an advice card, I always think a court card as advice is asking you to embody the personality aspects of that particular court card. So in this case, it might be asking you to ground your thoughts in fact, to check your facts, to think before you speak, to communicate clearly, to be true to yourself, all aspects of the personality of this card. The Knight of Swords is very much also a warrior of intellect, very intense, very logical. He is fire of air. And so he brings the element of fire into this element of air. And so there is a lot, it's a very yang card because both fire and air are yang elements. He's very smart, very opinionated, fiercely committed to his own ideas, very idealistic, very much a problem solver with a quick wit, but he can be unreliable. He loves adventure, but he can be cruel. So there is every personality, and we know this from our own experiences with ourselves and others, right? Every personality has the ability to skew positive and productive or negative and destructive. It's a continuum. There's a continuum in these personality cards. So keep that in mind. The Queen of Swords, very smart woman. She brings the element of water to this element of air. Smart, perceptive, intuitive, because the intuition comes from the water. Ethical, independent, very independent. And as an advice card, this might be advice to be very clear about the path you're taking, to be aware of distractions, to be clear and honest about your choices, to face your fear and discover your inner power, because that's, she says, she has claimed her power. The King of Swords is air of air. This is a very airy card. Not a lot of grounded energy in this personality. I like to think of the King of Swords as Spock from Star Trek, you know, very logical. Emotion doesn't come into it. Emotion just muddies the waters. This is very analytical, ethical, truthful, authoritative, very, very objective, but can also be aloof. And so as advice, this card might be asking you to take a look at things objectively and not let your emotions lead your choices. Take a rational approach, you know, speak eloquently, tell the truth, and connect those dots to see the larger picture. Those are the courts of the suit of swords and the element of air. It is an interesting suit, as all of the tarot suits are. I encourage you to take your suit of swords out of your deck and line them up and look at them. If it's not a Rider-Waite-Smith deck, and hopefully you have a Rider-Waite-Smith deck that you can compare them to. I always love asking people to, if you don't have a Rider-Waite-Smith deck, get one. And then you have it to compare your deck to, and that helps to expand how you're thinking about each of the cards. Now, the very best way to learn tarot is to practice tarot with other people who love to do tarot. And that's why we have the Tarot Together Explorers Club. It's a fantastic way to expand and enrich your insights if you've been doing it for a long time. And it's a great way to practice and improve your skills if you're new to tarot. You can find out more at tarottogether.com. The first month is completely free. We do Zoom practice groups. I teach lessons. It is a fantastic way to expand your tarot practice. I hope you'll join us. I hope this was helpful. May all your life be luminous.